They called her a goddess, a living legend, a force of nature who defied time itself. But what if I told you that behind the lights, the diamonds, and the decades of standing ovations, Cher was quietly surviving a life filled with heartbreak, betrayal, and soul-shattering loss? She may be nearing 80, but the years haven't been kind, not in the ways that truly matter. This isn't the Cher you see on stage. This is the Cher who cried behind closed doors, who faced battles no chart-topping hit could ever fix, who carried grief while the world cheered her name. From devastating family fractures, to love stories that ended in ruin, to the crushing weight of fame and isolation, this is the untold, unfiltered truth of a woman who gave everything to the world and got scars in return. Some of what you'll hear is going to break your heart. But now it's your turn. What moment in Cher's journey has stuck with you the most? What shocked you? Leave a comment below, and let's give this icon the conversation her story truly deserves. Cher's life didn't begin with glamour. It began in chaos. Born into a storm of broken promises and shattered hopes, her story traces back to a complex family web, woven by love, betrayal, and survival. Her mother, Georgia Holt, and her father, John Sarkeesian, were bound by a romance that ignited fast and burned out even faster. It all began in a donut shop in Fresno, California. Georgia, just a teenager, met John, a truck driver with charm to spare. It was the kind of whirlwind that feels like fate, so they ran off to Reno and got married on impulse. But fairy tales don't always last. Georgia quickly regretted the decision. She knew in her heart that she wasn't ready. She left, but John convinced her to try for 3 more months. A fragile hope. And before those months were over, Georgia was pregnant with a daughter who would one day change music forever, Cher. But love wasn't enough to hold them together. By the time Cher was just 10 months old, her parents had divorced. Her father, a man plagued by gambling and addiction, remained a ghostly figure, distant and unpredictable. The bond between them was never strong, yet despite it all, Cher held tightly to her Armenian heritage, the one piece of him she could embrace. Her true father figure came not from blood, but from Georgia's third husband, actor John Southall. For 5 years, he was in their lives, but those years were haunted by screaming matches and violent conflict. By the time Cher turned 9, yet another marriage crumbled. And so it continued. Georgia Holt, beautiful, ambitious, and relentlessly searching, would marry 7 times. Twice to John Sarkeesian. She later confessed in People magazine that it wasn't always love. Sometimes, it was just survival. Back then, sleeping with a man without marrying him was taboo. So she married, again and again. But the price was steep. For Cher, this meant a childhood of constant uprooting and emotional instability. Money was scarce. Dreams were big. Reality was harsh. Georgia had dreams of stardom, acting roles, singing gigs, but nothing ever stuck. And when Cher was just 2, things got so dire that her mother left her at a Catholic orphanage for several weeks, hoping to secure enough work to bring her baby back home. Cher's early life was split between relatives and cheap apartments. She and her half-sister spent months at a time with their grandparents, while Georgia chased auditions. Cher knew what it was like to have nothing. She remembered being ashamed of her clothes. She remembered shoes held together with rubber bands. She remembered the sting of being scolded for wearing them down, because there was no money for more. In a 2010 Vanity Fair cover story, Cher painted a vivid picture of her upbringing. She wasn't just poor. She was surviving, sometimes in Beverly Hills, other times eating canned stew in dingy apartments. It was a life of wild contrasts. A life that would forge the resilience of a future icon. High school offered no escape. Though Cher was stunning and whip-smart, she felt like an outsider. Teachers saw her as lazy. But the truth was buried deeper. She wasn't just daydreaming of fame, she was battling something invisible, dyslexia, a learning disability no one understood at the time. Her report cards were filled with frustration. D's, F's, an occasional A, but always the same judgment, not living up to potential. Cher once confessed that school made her feel small. Misunderstood. She hated being there. She dreamed about adulthood, about fame, about a life where she finally belonged. At just 16 years old, she decided she'd had enough. She dropped out, packed her dreams, and set off for Los Angeles. What she found would change her life forever. In 1963, Cher met a man who would become both her partner and her pain, Salvatore Sonny Bono. He was 27, a songwriter and record promoter. She had nowhere to go after being kicked out by her roommates. He took her in. At first, She was his housekeeper. But soon, the lines blurred. Their connection deepened. Their story took flight. By 1965, they were Sonny and Cher, America's sweethearts, thanks to a song that would define a generation, I Got You Babe. They were the voice of young love, defying the odds. But behind the scenes, the cracks were already forming. Success came fast. So did pressure. They tried to branch into film with Good Times in 1967, but critics tore it apart. Determined to rebound, they poured their savings into Chastity, a dark drama meant to launch Cher's acting career. But it flopped hard. Suddenly, the couple found themselves drowning in debt. The music scene was shifting, and their style was fading. To survive, they reinvented themselves as a lounge act in Las Vegas, a major pivot. Gone were the days of radio hits. Now, they mixed music with comedy. Their banter, especially Cher's sharp digs at Sonny, became their signature. Audiences loved it. Television came calling. In 1971, the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour debuted. It was a smash hit. But behind the camera, their marriage was collapsing. Both had affairs, but Sonny's were relentless. One woman was never enough. Cher endured it, for business, for image, for survival. Their home life was complicated. Lovers lived with them. The marriage became a performance. Sonny even wrote in his diary, "My public wife is still Cher in order to maintain all the things I want right now." It was a facade. By 1974, the illusion shattered. Cher demanded a divorce, citing involuntary servitude. Their partnership, once built on dreams and devotion, had turned into a trap. When she walked away, she had no fortune, no protection, just debt and her name. But Cher wouldn't stay down. She launched her solo show, Cher, defying Sonny's cruel prediction. America will hate you, and you won't have a job. He was wrong. Audiences adored her. She proved she was the star. Meanwhile, Sonny's solo venture flopped. The Sonny Comedy Review failed and was canceled after one season. The tables had turned. But Cher's journey was still uphill. Her music struggled. Album after album failed to chart. Stars barely made a dent. I'd Rather Believe in You was a complete commercial failure. Cherished fared no better. In 1977, she tried a duet album with her new husband, Southern rock icon Greg Allman. But To the Hard Way bombed with critics and fans alike. By 1978, her music career was in ruins. Warner Brothers dropped her. The goddess of pop, the woman who once lit up the world with I Got You Babe, stood at rock bottom, betrayed by love, buried in debt, and rejected by the very industry she once ruled. But if there's one thing Cher has always been, it's a fighter. It was a challenging period for Cher professionally, but her resilience and talent would eventually lead her to new successes in the years that followed. During her contentious divorce from Sonny Bono, Cher found herself in a whirlwind romance with Gregg Allman, the hard-partying Southern rocker and vocalist for the Allman Brothers Band. This unexpected love story took an even more surprising turn when Cher and Allman decided to tie the knot just 3 days after Cher's divorce from Bono was finalized in 1975. However, the honeymoon phase was short-lived, as only 9 days later, Cher filed for divorce from Allman. Cher, who had been sheltered from the notorious wild side of the music business by both Sonny Bono and her former boyfriend, record producer David Geffen, was ill-prepared to deal with Allman's struggles with alcoholism and heroin abuse. According to J. Randy Taraborelli's biography, Cher, as reported by Entertainment Weekly, Allman's substance abuse issues had reached a point where he was so impaired that he couldn't even comprehend that Cher was leaving him. Cher recalled, "He was so high, he didn't even understand me." Despite the initial breakup, Allman pledged to get clean and sober, and the couple reconciled a month later. However, their relationship faced further challenges when Cher made the decision to reunite with Sonny Bono for a reboot of their successful variety show in 1976. This decision put significant strain on her already tumultuous relationship with Allman. In response, Allman filed for divorce. It wasn't until Allman learned that Cher was pregnant with their son, Elijah Blue, that he relented and decided to remain married. Nevertheless, their marriage was a rocky one, and they eventually decided to part ways for the last time in 1978. Tragically, in 2017, Greg Allman lost his battle with liver cancer, passing away at the age of 69. Cher expressed her grief on Twitter, stating, "Words are impossible. reflecting the deep impact that their tumultuous relationship and shared history had on her. After her divorce from Gregg Allman, Cher took a new direction in her music career by signing with Casablanca Records. This transition occurred during a disco music-dominated era, and the label strongly encouraged Cher to create an album with dance-oriented pop, despite her self-identification as a rock artist. She was somewhat reluctant, but eventually recorded the album Take Me Home. The title track of this album, Take Me Home, turned out to be the hit that Cher needed at the time. It not only revived her recording career, but also recast her image as a disco diva, a style similar to the popular Donna Summer. This reinvention helped her regain her footing in the music industry. Following the success of Take Me Home, Cher released her next album, Prisoner, later the same year. Initially, this album was planned to showcase both Cher's rock and disco sides. However, Cher's insistence on including less danceable material ultimately led to the album's failure. Unfortunately, Prisoner failed to chart, and history seemed to be repeating itself in terms of Cher's challenges in the music industry. In response to these setbacks, Cher decided to double down on her aspirations to become a rock star. In 1980, she formed the band Black Rose, with her on-again, off-again boyfriend, guitarist Les Dudek. The band released a self-titled album that featured a raw, rough-around-the-edges rock and roll sound, complete with biting lyrics and screaming guitars. Cher finally had the opportunity to shine as the lead singer in a hard rock band, but the absence of her name on the album's cover confused her fans, and this led to dismal sales for the record. By 1982, both Black Rose and Cher's relationship with Les Dudek had come to an end for good. Cher continued to navigate the ups and downs of her career, always willing to explore new musical avenues and reinvent herself to stay relevant in the ever-changing world of music. With her recording career facing challenges, Cher made a strategic decision to shift her focus to acting. In 1983, she landed a supporting role in the film Silkwood, where she starred alongside Meryl Streep and Kurt Russell. The film was based on the real-life story of Karen Silkwood, an atomic energy whistleblower. Silkwood achieved both respectable box office returns and critical acclaim. Cher's performance in the film was particularly lauded, earning her a Golden Globe and an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. This marked a significant turning point in her acting career. Following her success in Silkwood, Cher continued to take on critically acclaimed dramatic roles in films such as Mask and Suspect. These roles showcased her versatility as an actress and solidified her reputation as a formidable talent in the film industry. Cher's most significant cinematic achievement during this period came with the 1987 romantic comedy Moonstruck, a film for which she earned the Academy Award for Best Actress. This was a major milestone in her acting career and demonstrated her ability to excel in both drama and comedy. Despite her film success, the late 1980s would bring a new challenge to Cher's life. As reported by Vanity Fair, Cher discovered she had contracted the Epstein-Barr virus while filming The Witches of Eastwick in 1987. However, the full impact of the disease wouldn't become apparent until later. Cher endured a challenging 2-year period during which she couldn't work, and her health deteriorated to the point that she developed pneumonia. She had to decline numerous movie offers during this time, leaving her deeply upset. As she recounted to the New York Times, "I was really upset about it, and when I came back, I had to work my way back up from the beginning." Sonny Bono, known for his musical career as one half of the popular duo Sonny and Cher, faced a significant career transition by the 1980s. Without Cher by his side, his career in the entertainment industry seemed to be waning. However, in 1988, Bono decided to shift his focus to the world of politics. He embarked on a new journey and successfully ran for the position of mayor in Palm Springs, California. This marked the beginning of a remarkable transformation in his public persona. As he reinvented himself in the political arena, Bono adopted a conservative stance and went on to run for the Senate in 1992. Although he faced defeat in this venture, Bono remained steadfast in his ambitions for national office. His determination paid off when, in 1994, he was elected as a representative of California's 44th District in the United States Congress. Bono's sudden entry into politics and his subsequent election marked a remarkable transition from his previous career in showbiz. He became a prominent figure in the Republican Party, advocating for conservative principles and representing the interests of his constituents in California. However, tragically, Sonny Bono's newfound role in politics was abruptly cut short in January 1998. While enjoying a vacation in Aspen, Colorado, he met with a fatal accident while skiing. The news of his untimely death shook many, including his former partner and ex-wife, Cher. As soon as she heard of Bono's passing, Cher immediately flew from London to Los Angeles to be with her family and mourn the loss. During a tearful eulogy at Sonny Bono's funeral, Cher expressed her deep respect and admiration for her ex-husband. She acknowledged his intelligence and foresight, giving him credit for transforming her, an introverted 16-year-old girl, and himself, a man with a perceived bad voice, into the most successful and beloved couple of their generation. Cher also highlighted Bono's role as the creative force behind their famous partnership, emphasizing that he had the vision to shape Sonny and Cher into a legendary entertainment duo. Despite the humor and banter that had often characterized their public personas, Cher's emotional eulogy shed light on the profound impact Sonny Bono had on their careers and the entertainment industry as a whole. Cher, the iconic singer and actress, had a tremendously busy career that often left her with very little time to play the role of a conventional mother to her children. This demanding lifestyle took a toll on her youngest son, Elijah Blue Almond, as he opened up about his challenging childhood in a candid 2014 interview with Entertainment Tonight. Elijah shared his experiences of being sent to boarding school at the tender age of 7, a situation that made him feel as though he was being isolated and detached from his mother's life. He expressed his emotions about this in the interview, saying, "When you go to boarding school at 7 years old, it's kind of hard to feel like you're not being shunned." It was clear that his early years were marked by a sense of abandonment, which had a profound impact on his relationship with his mother. Although he had reached a point in his life where he was coming to terms with his tumultuous childhood, Elijah still harbored some resentment towards Cher. He acknowledged that while he was working on making peace with the past, it didn't mean that he saw her actions as right. He stated, "I'm at an age where I'm making peace with it because you just have to. But it doesn't mean it's right. It's still wrong to do that." In 2013, Elijah and his wife, Mariangela King, briefly moved in with Cher, attempting to rebuild their relationship. However, a dispute, the details of which were not disclosed, caused a rupture in their contact, and the mother and son found themselves estranged once again. Elijah described his relationship with Cher as a work in progress. He acknowledged that they had made progress in addressing their differences, which were inevitable given their complicated history. He explained, "We have our issues. We've worked through a lot of them. We've got some more to go. But when you're an adult, you take on a different sort of tone than when you're an adolescent. But there's unresolved stuff, for sure." Despite the challenges and complexities of their relationship, Elijah still held a deep admiration for his mother. He acknowledged Cher's immense talent, her striking beauty, and her status as a cultural icon, saying, "You know, she's really talented. She's gorgeous. I mean, she's Cher. What's not to love?" This sentiment highlighted the complex mix of emotions and perspectives that defined their mother-son relationship. Cher's marriage to Sonny Bono resulted in the birth of their child, a son named Chaz Salvatore Bono. Chaz, originally named Chastity Son Bono, made headlines in the late 2000s when he embarked on a significant journey of self-discovery and underwent a 2-year female-to-male transition, officially beginning in 2008. This transformation marked a deeply personal and profound change in Chaz's life. Before embarking on his transition, and while still identifying as a woman, Chaz experienced a moment of intrusion into his private life. According to the Orlando Sentinel, he was forcibly outed as a lesbian by a tabloid in 1990. This exposure added complexity to his already complex journey of self-identity. Despite Cher's reputation as a gay icon and a staunch advocate for LGBTQ rights, her initial reaction to Chaz's sexuality and subsequent transition was not without its challenges. Chaz revealed that his famous mother initially struggled to fully accept his sexual orientation and the changes he was going through. However, over time, Cher transformed into a passionate advocate for LGBTQ rights, which also included wholeheartedly supporting her son's transition. Cher candidly spoke about her evolving perspective on Chaz's transition in a 2018 interview with Pride Source. She acknowledged that it was not an easy process for her, expressing her fears and uncertainties. She said, "I didn't go through it that easily," revealing that there was a profound fear of losing the child she loved. Cher also grappled with questions about who the new person, Chaz, would be, how this transformation would work, and whether she would lose a part of her child in the process. However, Cher's love for her child and her desire for his happiness ultimately prevailed. She recognized that Chaz's well-being and authenticity were paramount, stating, "It doesn't make any difference what anyone else feels or what anyone else thinks. Chaz is so happy now, and we get along better than ever." What do you think about Cher's life filled with pain and injustice? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.